Hey there, everyone. I'm Ashley Bullington, and welcome to the fifth quarter's brand new set. I love it. But welcome to the fifth quarter. This is our Friday night wrap-up show of everything that happened in the greater Houston area for Texas high school sports. We've got some cool stuff on tap tonight, several phone calls, one being the head coach for the Travis Tigers, undefeated Travis Tigers, Trey Sissom. We also have scores from around the Metroplex, and we will tell you what's coming on tomorrow on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports at 8:30 a.m. So let's kick it off. We are going to start with Friendswood versus Texas City. You know, the Mustangs scored 31 unanswered points in this game. Texas City finally got a touchdown in the end, and Friendswood beats the Texas City Stingarees 31-7. After that, another game that just ended, we've got Clear Creek versus Clearbrook. Both of these teams have struggled a lot this season, you know, not winning records, but a good game for them to both get a win on for this season. Clear Creek beat Clearbrook 38-14. We are going to go to Westside versus Chavez next. You know, this is a big win for Westside. You know, they took down a super solid Lobos squad. Chavez had a very good winning record on the season, but Westside wins this one 42-27. We've got Hargrave versus Concordia Lutheran up next. This one, you know, Hargrave is undefeated going into this game. They're undefeated coming out of this game as well. They beat Concordia Lutheran 41-28 tonight. We've also got one big team in the metro or in this greater Houston area. Northside and Mansville took off. You know, Manville undefeated going into this one. They had a big win against Marshall last week, defeating the Buffs in the last seconds of the game, 38-34. They decided they're going to keep that momentum going. They beat Northside tonight, 71-20. They're riding that momentum from a big win. We were questioning whether or not, you know, Manville was the team that went to state a few years ago. Could they come back and have a really good season? Could they beat the Buffs? Not only did they beat the Buffs, but they came back to show that they're out for vengeance this year, beating a team by over 70 points, or by scoring over 70 points. This Manville team is trying to win their district. Not only that, but they're trying to make it a state. Another big game we had on the docket was Klein Forest versus Oak Ridge. The War Eagles take this one from Klein Forest 56-34. C.E. King almost pulled out a big win. They were ahead of Westbrook going into halftime. We were thinking maybe a big upset was going to come from C.E. King, but Westbrook comes back to win 27-20 on that one. We have another big-time coach on the fifth quarter. Trey Sissom has led his team to an undefeated record. They beat a very tough Elkin squad last night, 56-28. It was a good win for them, and he gives us his takes not only on that game as well as his team, including Eric Rodriguez, who won our bobblehead award not too long ago, but he will be with us when we get back. We'll be right back with the fifth quarter right after this message.
Don't forget to catch our extended coverage of the high school football season each week on The Warm-Up, presented by your local Houston area Geico agents. We will get you ready for all the action this Thursday on all our social media outlets.
And we're back with the fifth quarter, and I have a very special guest, head coach of the Fort Bend Travis Tigers, Trey Sissom. Coach, how are you doing?
We're doing well, thank you.
So you guys had a big win last night. You pretty much smoked Elkins. You guys have had a fantastic season so far. Kind of talk about this Travis team that you have on your hands.
Yeah, we came through with a victory last night against a really tough Elkins team. I mean, I think the score is probably not even indicative of how competitive it was. We played really well in the second half, and offense kept going, and we kept scoring some points. We scored some easy ones there to get us a lead, and then our defense came around and played well, and that's kind of been our MO throughout the season. Offensively we've been pretty solid, but we've had our times there where we've spit and sputtered, and then defense kind of takes a little bit more time to get going, but they've made some timely stops, and it's got us out to a 4-0 record.
I mean, not only do you have a big game against Elkins, but you had another big game against Spring, and you guys have huge plays that you're making with your quarterback into so many different targets. Not we say Parker Washington a lot, but you guys have a lot of targets on the field. How have you kind of managed that offense that's just pulling through for you in those tough situations?
I think it's one of those things that obviously with Eric Rodriguez playing at a very high level right now at quarterback, it makes our job a little bit easier. But we, as an offensive staff, we go into it looking to see how many guys we can get touches. It's not necessarily one thing that we want to focus on one person or the other. We really kind of let the defense dictate what they're going to give us. We're not going to try to force things, and we're very fortunate to have some kids other than Parker Washington, like you mentioned. Jarrell Farr's had a couple of really big games for us. And Colin Mushinski is another one of our receivers that has made some clutch catches on, some third and longs that have kept drives alive. And then, last night against Elkins, we were fortunate. We got a run game going again with KJ Schenkel and Andre Smith, really putting up some big numbers. So, we try to be as diplomatic as we can, obviously, in terms of getting the ball around. And sometimes the defenses, they try to limit us in certain ways, but we've been very fortunate that our kids are making great decisions and making big plays for us.
And, Eric Rodriguez actually did win our bobblehead, and we got some pictures from you guys. That was really cool. We love getting to see that kind of stuff. But talk about Eric as a player. He hasn't been a name that you hear a ton over the past few years, but now all of a sudden he's kind of come on the scene and become I don't want to say like an underdog, but he's becoming a star almost in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about one of the best kids that you'd ever have to coach. I mean, he's as hard working, in the off season and in the weight room and in the film room with our coaching staff as he is out on the practice field a lot of times, and it shows in his play. We're fortunate obviously to have a kid that's that well rounded. We didn't really run him a lot last year because we didn't have a lot of kids that were behind him there. Where if he got barked up, we were going to be in trouble. Well, we've got some kids that can come in there and spell him, if he needs a blow. But fortunately, he's running the ball really well in the schemes that we want, and then obviously he can deliver it to our receivers whenever they're open.
And district play started. So, what challenges do you see as your team gets into district play, and how do you kind of see these next few weeks going?
Well, I mean, obviously, that first game we just played against Elkins is huge. Everybody goes into that first district game, 0-0, and trying to get that first win. And you're talking about a team that's about as well coached as you can get with Coach Brantley and his staff preparing their guys. They've got some great weapons in terms of their quarterback. Cameron George really had a heck of a game, and we've played some good quarterbacks, and he's just another one that we've had to go against on the defensive side. But looking at it, we take every game one game at a time. And I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but in our district, you better do that because everybody's got a couple of kids that can make plays, and everybody's got an opportunity, to where if you do some things wrong, they're going to capitalize on them, and it's going to be a ball game, and then you're going to have to, really play well to get a win. And I think it's kind of shaping up that way. There's everybody's pretty competitive right now. I know Austin and Dulles, the game from last night, it came down to the wire, and Austin pulled out a win there against Dulles, and we get Dulles next week. So, we're anticipating the same thing. We know that we got to come in and prepare every week like it's almost like the Super Bowl in a sense, and keep the winning streak alive for us to have a chance to get a district title.
And my last question for you, Coach, and I'll let you get going. I know it's late, but you guys 4-0. How do you keep this momentum going with your team?
I think the biggest thing, like say our captains on the team, Eric Rodriguez and Parker Washington and KJ Schenkel, they're on the offensive side. Pat Brown's one of our defensive tackles. He's one of our captains on the defensive side. Those guys, they kind of have the pulse of the team and they keep them grounded and understand, that we're only 4 games into a 10-game marathon right here. And we want to keep the momentum just by coming to practice every day and getting better. Even though we've had some good wins and those kind of things, we still got a lot of stuff to improve on. We've got a lot of places that we've got to get some things fixed, offensively and defensively, and then we got to stay healthy. That's kind of been the thing that's got us early on. We've kind of played through some adversity with the injury bug and, we're getting kids back now, and it's helping us, in that sense. But, there's going to be times during the season where, you're going to hit adversity and we gotta make sure that we got our heads screwed on right. I know that everybody wants to rank us this and say how great we are and all that. I said, but if you look at it, we're turning the ball over too much on the offensive side, and defensively, we're waiting to the second half to get warmed up to finally make some stops. So, from a staff perspective, we gotta get some of that stuff fixed so that we can just be a little bit more in tune with what we need to beat the really, really good teams and hopefully have a chance to play at the end of the year as a district title.
Awesome, Coach. Well, good luck to you guys, and thank you so much for joining us on the Fifth Quarter.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it. Go Tigers.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Watch Inside High School Sports to catch this week's Chevy Spotlight, brought to you by your Houston area Chevy dealers. Visit your nearest Chevy dealer to test drive their award-winning products.
And we are back with the Fifth Quarter, and I actually have a guest on set with me. I'm pretty excited about this. Robert Shiekh, our producer for Inside High School Sports. Robert, thank you for coming on with me.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Glad to do it in person. Let's get right into it.
Yeah. So what did we see from Houston High School Sports in Week 5?
The first big takeaway, Westfield tonight looked absolutely fantastic in its rivalry with Spring. I believe 37-0 was the final absolute domination from Westfield with a sophomore quarterback too, threw 4 touchdown passes. That was our game of the week. Spring had scored quite a few points coming in. I think Spring was averaging more than 40 points a game through its first 3 games, but the Westfield defense, we've seen it all season. The only team that's found the end zone against Westfield all year long was North Shore, and that was a game Westfield was leading until late in the fourth quarter. So this Westfield team is legit, and you look at that, Westfield's going to go in Region 2 when we, it's way too early to start talking playoffs, but Westfield will be in Region 2 as opposed to most of those Houston area powers like Katy, North Shore, Atascocita, those types of things. So we could see Westfield move on and potentially knock out some East Texas teams and Dallas-Fort Worth area teams and really make a statement to represent the Houston area deep into the postseason on a different side of the bracket than we're used to seeing Houston area teams play. And
that's a team that none of us were really expecting to be this big of a powerhouse on the defensive side of things. If you can't, it goes to show if a team can't score, you're obviously going to win.
Absolutely, yeah, and Westfield's always been a strong program, but I don't know that anybody knew this team was going to be this good right now, especially with a really young offense. Again, a sophomore quarterback and young playmakers, and those guys are making plays when they need to. Putting up 37 points tonight and against a rival like Spring, a good program like Spring, it's pretty impressive. And yeah, that Westfield defense. It's what can you say? I mean, 0 points allowed, 2 points allowed. Obviously, the defense doesn't give up the safety. 0 points allowed in the season opener, 2 points allowed, 24 against North Shore, and then another shutout tonight against Spring. It's pretty impressive stuff from Westfield.
Another impressive team that won last week and had a blowout win this week was Manville. They scored 71 points. What have we seen from this Manville team that it looks like they're kind of playing with a chip on their shoulder?
Absolutely, yeah. Manville continues to roll. It definitely, Class 5A Division II, Manville and Fort Bend Marshall are just so far ahead of everyone else, not just in the Houston area, but for really much of the state. Those two programs, obviously, Manville was 5A Division I 2 years ago and reached the state championship, dropped down to 5A Division II last year. We saw Fort Bend Marshall knock off Manville and then go all the way to the state championship game. This year, obviously, Manville looked great last week against Marshall, and the Mavs have it rolling. It's going to be hard to see anybody knocking off Manville until the postseason. So it'll be tough to see Manville not win the district title this year.
A team that we had win Team of the Week. We also did a Chevy Spotlight on them, but they are 4-0 Cy Falls. How cool is that? The first time in school history, they not only were 2-0, they're not 3-0, now they're 4-0.
Well, yeah. So we actually did Cy Falls, we actually did Clear Falls a couple weeks ago. But Cy Falls this week, rolling the Eagles takedown Memorial 20-13, hard fought game, and yeah, Cy Falls now I believe it's actually 5-0.
Goodness.
And yeah, 5-0, and heading into next week a big showdown with Cy Fair, and that's always going to be a fun one. I believe, if my memory serves me correct, Cy Falls beat Cy Fair last year. Of course, Cy Fair won a state title 2 years ago, so that's going to be a big time showdown in 17-6A next week.
And then Clear Falls. We'll go to Clear Falls
Yes.
now. Thank you. But yeah, what have we been seeing from that Clear Falls team as they tried to go 4-0 tonight?
Yeah, Clear Falls, what a great story to start the season 3-0. You have to be happy for that program. Tonight ran into a bit of a buzzsaw in Clear Springs. Clear Springs, the defending district champions in that district, and after a really tough non-district schedule, Clear Springs saw itself sitting there 1-3, I believe, after a loss to Katy last week. And I think Clear Springs was ready to face somebody that wasn't quite, Katy or Klein Collins quite at that level. But that Clear Falls program, the Knights are putting up some points,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see. They're trying to get back to the playoffs for just the second time in school history. And it'll be fun to see if Clear Falls can do that this year.
Do you have any players that you've seen around the greater Houston area that you've kind of just been surprised with?
Boy, I tell you, I don't know about surprised with, but it's hard not to enjoy watching the Fort Bend Travis offense. Eric Rodriguez, Parker Washington, Jarrell Farr, those guys just keep lighting up the scoreboard. Last night, it was Thursday night, Fort Bend Travis 56-28 over Elkins. And if you haven't seen it, we gave a bobblehead to Eric Rodriguez a couple weeks ago for his 7-touchdown performance against Spring. And, I wish we had a few more bobbleheads, to be honest, to everyone on that offense. And they just keep putting up points. Those guys, time playmakers on that offense, and that's a fun team to watch. And Ridge Point has dominated that district for 4 or 5 years in a row now. That'll be a fun ball game to watch when Travis and Ridge Point get together this year, to see if Travis can try and wrestle away that district title from Ridge Point.
So we actually had Coach Sissom on in the segment right before this, and he was talking about how this team is a bunch of playmakers, how he's got everyone throughout the entire offense that can just make plays, and that he's just got to get his defense going, but he sees a really good team as they go forward. But is there any other teams, as we're wrapping up the fifth quarter, week 5, that you just want to give some shout outs to, want to give some kudos to?
Well, a few teams. One, last night, Decaney, I believe, is off to a 4-0 start now. Decaney rolled past Aldine MacArthur, and it's either next week or 2 weeks from now. I'm not quite sure, but Decaney gets Westfield, and that'll be a good, litmus test to see just how good the Wildcats are. Bridgeland was a team we were really excited about. I don't know if you guys got to watch this week's episode of the warm up. We collaboratively, we kind of compared Bridgeland's story this year to Simba from The Lion King.
That was one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah, it was fun, and I think it was a pretty good comparison. But Bridgeland lost tonight. Cy Woods lost its first 2 games of the year, some tough games, and ever since then they're 3-0 now in district play. So the Wildcats are 3-2
when it counts.
And that team has definitely turned it up a notch in district play with some big wins already. I want to say Cy Woods beat Cy Ranch. No, that's not right. Don't hold me to that. Cy Woods beat Tomball Memorial. Cy Woods beat Tomball Memorial, then Langham Creek, and then Friday night beat Bridgeland, who Bridgeland last week beats Cy Ranch. So that district is going to be jumbled. It's going to be hard. It's very competitive at the top. The top 5-6 teams in that district, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And so I don't think anybody will be able to run the table in that district, but it'll be interesting to see who wins that district championship. And I'm trying to browse through a rundown here to see if there's anything else I'm missing.
I was going to say, so what do we have coming up in the morning on Chevrolet's Inside High School Sports?
Well, Pearland Dawson with a big win too over Strike Jesuit. And I'll tell you what, another thing last night, Pearland beats A-Leaf Taylor. Pearland came back and scored, I believe, 27 unanswered points in the second half. But A-Leaf Taylor, I don't know that a lot of people gave A-Leaf Taylor much of a chance going into that game against Pearland, and the Lions were leading that quite handily in the third quarter. Pearland turns it on late and kind of wins by 14, I think, and it was a game that was much closer than that. So that'll be another interesting district. I think it's 23-6A. Dawson and Strake had a competitive game tonight. Pearland, A-Leaf Taylor, A-Leaf Hastings is sitting out there. I know I'm forgetting somebody. George Ranch is in that district.
There's so many good teams.
Yes, so that will be a fun district to watch, and highlights on a bunch of those games we've mentioned tomorrow. We are loaded with highlights. We have
definitely
some friends across the state helping us get some games that weren't in Houston, but featuring Houston area teams. So just because your team is not playing at home doesn't mean we won't necessarily have highlights. So you have to tune in.
It's all a big guessing game. It's a surprise.
And our Chevy Spotlight on CE King, really cool story there. That team off to a 3-0 start, lost last night. Very hard fought game against Beaumont Westbrook. They almost knocked off a team that played for the state championship last year. CE King has really made some strides. A superstar defensive back in Bryson Washington leading that team. And that's an area that was devastated so much by Hurricane Harvey, and it was really nice to see the way that program has kind of turned things around, and a beautiful new stadium that they were able to open last Saturday, and we were hoping to have highlights of the game in last week's show, but with everything that happened with Tropical Storm Imelda, that game ended up getting pushed back to Saturday. But beautiful new stadium there in Sheldon ISD for CE King, and that's a cool little Chevy Spotlight that you want to check out. And all sorts of more stuff. We're going to hand out a bobblehead. I probably need to figure out who's going to win that. So, yeah, exciting show tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, Robert, thank you for joining us. We love having guests here. But for Robert, I'm Ashley Bullington. Thank you for watching Fifth Quarter.